And we'll take just the next couple of moments to give ourselves a chance to arrive in this practice. So feeling your feet underneath you, feeling the firmness of the floor, feeling the lift at the crown of your head, the balance of your standing pose, the flow of your breath. As you kind of drop into an awareness of standing here, when it feels right to you, you can put your tongue just behind your top two front teeth, slightly lower your chin, slightly lift your soft palate. We'll begin to create the sound of Ujjayi Pranayama. This is a primary part of the physical practice, Ashtanga Yoga, is this sound to the breath, and using this sound to the breath and this active breath to kind of thread our poses together. The major principle of Ashtanga Yoga. So we'll stay here with the Ujjayi breath. Let's take one more big, slow inhalation. One more deep, complete exhalation. And then we'll move through 3 rounds of Sun Salutation A, Surya Namaskara A. So with your next inhalation, you'll reach your arms up overhead, maybe look up at your thumbs. As you exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward. Feel free to bend your knees. And so this is our first forward fold of the practice. If you'd like to touch shins or thighs instead of floor, you can go there. We'll inhale, lift halfway up. And then you'll plant your hands, step your feet back to a plank pose, and lower. Lowering down maybe to your knees, maybe to your belly. If you're ready for Chaturanga, take Chaturanga. Beautiful. Inhale, flowing through to upward facing dog or cobra. Shoulders drawing back, base of the skull drawing back. Lovely alignment. You can exhale, take it back to downward facing dog. And we'll hang out in down dog for 5 slow, steady breaths. So long, deep inhalations and exhalations here. That's always a good idea when you make your way into your downward facing dog, when we're flowing through these sun salutations. You have a chance here to check in with your alignment. So maybe just take a look at your hands, take a look at your feet, make any little adjustments that would make sense. And you have a chance to practice what we call svadhyaya. Svadhyaya means self-observation. And this is one of the major principles of yoga philosophy. So we turn our attention towards ourselves and learn from ourselves, learning from your experience here. We've got one more breath in downward facing dog. And at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees and look forward. You'll move your feet towards your hands, finding a half forward fold. Lovely. Full forward fold with your exhalation. Your next inhalation will lift from the space between your shoulder blades all the way up towards the ceiling. Float your arms overhead. Exhale, Namaskara, arms down by your sides. Keep flowing, we'll inhale and reach up. Exhale and fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. You can plant your hands, take your feet back to plank, lower Chaturanga. Beautiful control. Inhale through upward facing dog. Yes, exhale, downward facing dog. Once more, settling in here for 5 breaths. So this time in your downward facing dog, after checking in with the placement of hands and feet, making any micro adjustments that you need to make, try lifting your heels really high off the floor. So coming way up under the balls of your feet, you'll notice that your hips come way up. Nice. So now keep your hips where they are right now. Sitting bones lifting, nice angle at the hip joint. Let your heels drop down by a sensation of lengthening at the back of your leg. Yes. All right, at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees and look forward. You'll move your feet to your hands, walking or stepping or floating, half forward fold. Full forward fold as you exhale. Inhale to rise. Exhale, Namaskara. Last round of Sun Salutation A. We'll inhale and reach up. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. You can inhale, lift halfway up. And again, plant your hands, take your feet back. If you are comfortable hopping back into your Chaturanga, do. Just make sure you land in Chaturanga, elbows bent. Nice. Inhaling through upward facing dog. Exhaling to downward facing dog, and once more settling here, 5 breaths. Long and slow and deep, and maybe they can even be longer and slower and deeper than they have been so far in your practice. Again, part of the pranayama, or part of the practice of Ashtanga Yoga has to do with the breath. It's a major part of the practice. Slowing that breath down, maybe a little longer than it feels comfortable, is part of this practice. Part of the discipline, part of the intensity, and part of the effectiveness of this practice. We've got one more slow, steady breath here. And then you can bend your knees, look forward, and move your feet to your hands, finding half forward fold and full forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing, equal standing pose, Samasthiti. Arms float down by your sides. All right, 3 rounds of Surya Namaskar B. So this time we start in Uttanasana, chair pose. You take the inner edges of your feet to touch, bases of your big toes touch, the flesh of your heels touch, and your ankle bones are just a little bit apart. Like you could maybe slide a business card between your ankle bones. We'll find our way into the chair pose. Tops of your shins slide a little forward, tops of your thighs slide back. So when you glance down, maybe you can see your big toes. We'll have belly in, lengthen tailbone towards the floor, and from this support in your pelvis, lift arms and heart up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, hands part, dive forward, Uttanasana, back to your standing forward fold. You'll inhale, lift halfway up, plant your hands, take your feet back through Vinyasa, Chaturanga. Nice, upward facing dog. Yes, downward facing dog. Down dog is an exhalation. That same exhalation now brings your right foot between your hands. So if you can do it all in one breath, press back to down dog, step right foot forward. Then you'll anchor your left heel, reach up, Virabhadrasana 1, first warrior. As you exhale, you'll come all the way down to Chaturanga. Hands reach for the floor, step back, lower, elbows bend to 90 degrees. You'll inhale through upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog, and that same exhalation brings your left foot forward. We'll pivot the right heel to the floor. Anchor right heel as you bend your left knee, reach up, Virabhadrasana 1. And exhale through Vinyasa, reaching back to the floor, step back, Chaturanga, and upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Now we get to rest, settling into down dog for 5 breaths. So once more, we've had an intense series of flowing postures. We've really played with the breath. So now settle, and maybe you take a moment to adjust position of hands or feet. Take a moment to check in with your shoulders. So let's think about trying to broaden shoulder blades away from each other on your back. Yeah, maybe it almost feels like the top of your shoulder, from the side of your neck to the top of your shoulder, is getting longer. Yes, and now the outer edge of your shoulder blade gets strong and firm on the side of your rib cage as you press the floor away from you. Yes, one more breath. And at the end of this next exhalation, you'll bend your knees and look forward. Feet move to your hands, finding a half forward fold on your in-breath, finding a full forward fold on your out-breath, and we're coming back to Uttanasana, chair pose. Feet are touching, knees bend, belly lift, arms lift, extending from the middle of your low back up to the tips of your shoulder blades, to your elbows, to your little fingers. And exhale, Samasthiti, arms float down by your sides. Go again, we'll bend our knees, reach down, reach up, Uttanasana. Exhale, fold for Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway, palms plant, step or float back to Chaturanga. That's the exhalation. Inhaling to upward facing dog. Yes, exhaling to downward facing dog, and then continue your exhalation to step your right foot forward. Left heel grounds. Inhale, first warrior, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale through Vinyasa, reaching back to the mat, step back to your plank. Chaturanga, upward facing dog on the in-breath. Downward facing dog on the out-breath. Same exhalation brings your left foot forward. So left foot steps forward, right heel plants to the mat. We'll find first warrior, Virabhadrasana 1. And exhale through the flow, reaching back to the floor, step to chaturanga. Upward facing dog on the in-breath. Downward facing dog on the out-breath. Once more, a point of stillness. So 5 slow, steady breaths here. Maybe slowing your breath down a little bit once more. Taking this time to observe your experience in the pose and make any little adjustments that would be effective for you. You can also notice what's going on in your mind. Sometimes it's really interesting to notice your mental shift between a flowing practice and a still practice. How does your attention change? How does your experience of the postures change? Let's take one more slow, steady breath here. And at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees and look forward, move your feet to your hands. Half forward fold on your in-breath. Full forward fold on your out-breath. Inhaling, Utkatasana, knees bend, reach up, find the chair. Exhale, legs extend, arms release, Samasthiti. Last round, Surya Namaskar B. Inhale, bend your knees, reach down, reach up, Utkatasana. Exhale and fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift, spine is long. You can plant your hands, take your feet back, flow through Vinyasa, Chaturanga. And upward facing dog. And downward facing dog, right foot steps forward, left heel pivots to the mat. First warrior, as you anchor your left heel, right thigh slides forward, maybe it comes parallel to the mat. Beautiful. Exhale, reaching for the mat. Flow through Vinyasa, you're headed back to Chaturanga. And upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. Same exhalation, left foot steps forward. We'll pivot and anchor, right heel to the floor, reach up. Maybe left thigh slides parallel to the mat. And through Vinyasa, exhaling, step back, Chaturanga. Upward facing dog on the in-breath. Downward facing dog on the out-breath. Once more, settling into this moment of stillness in the intensity of this flowing practice. 5 breaths here. Taking a moment to scan through your awareness of your posture, making any little adjustments as needed. Scanning through the sensations you feel in your body, and maybe the thoughts and emotions you feel around those sensations. Checking in with what's going on in your mind. Checking in with your breath for one more long, deep inhalation. One more slow, complete exhalation. The end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees and look forward. You'll move your feet towards your hands, walking or stepping or floating, half forward fold. Full forward fold as you exhale. Inhale, Utkatasana. You're bending your knees, reach down, reach up, chair pose. Exhale, equal standing pose, Samasthiti. Let's just take a moment here and notice what effect Surya Namaskar A and B might have had in your body. Maybe you can feel the beat of your heart. Maybe you can feel the tingling in your muscles as they've warmed up. Maybe you can stay with this powerful, energized, focused breath. And then we'll step our feet to the width of our hips. Next pose in this series is Padangusthasana. So that means Padangushtas are your big toes. Padangusthasana, we're trying to reach our big toes with our fingers. So if you can, you'll hinge at your hips, trying to keep hips in line with your ankles. Shift forward and slip your index finger and middle finger between your big toe and second toe and wrap your thumb around the outside. So you're taking a hold of your big toe with the yogi grip. Yeah, if you can't reach your toes, you can always place your hands on your shins. You can bend your knees a little bit. Let's take an inhalation here. Try to get our way towards the balls of our feet. So sometimes when we get into this position, the tendency is to drop back into our heels. Shift your weight slightly forward. Fronts of your heel bones, balls of your feet. One more breath, get really long in the length of your spine. Exhale, draw yourself deeper into the pose. If it's available, you'll bend your elbows a little bit and let them pull out to the side slightly as you draw yourself deeper into the pose. So we're coming into this posture with a slow, deep breath. Each time you exhale, see if you can feel the sensation of lifting through your low belly. And that might even draw you deeper into the pose. Yeah. Pulling your belly in towards your spine with each exhalation. One more breath in Paschimottanasana. You can inhale, release your big toes, come up halfway. All right, next posture in the series is called Padahastasana. So padas are feet, hastas are hands. You can inhale up to standing for a moment. I can only get one hasta under one pada. This wrist won't go there today. But what we're trying to do in Padahastasana is to slide our hands right underneath the soles of our feet. So if you can, fingers all the way back towards your heels, toes at the crease of your wrist. And again, we take our weight a little forward, hips back, spine long, inhaling here, exhaling to fold. Elbows can pull out to the side, and you're almost trying to traction your wrists forward a little bit as you pull yourself into the posture. Yeah. So give me a little stretch in your wrists as well as a big stretch in your hamstrings and back body. Two more breaths here. Nice. So as you inhale, you can release your hands from under your feet. Exhale, take your hands to your hips, draw your elbows back. Inhale, stand all the way up. And we'll step to Samasthiti, equal standing pose. All right, moving into our next posture, Konasana, triangle pose. So one of the kind of sequential characteristics of Ashtanga Yoga is we tend to always lead our postures with the right foot, and we tend to turn towards the back of the mat to do the posture on the right side, and then turn towards the front of the mat to do the posture on the left. So we start at Samasthiti, and then you'll step your right foot way back at least a leg length, and then pivot all the way around to your right. Nice. So we're heading into triangle pose. Turn your hips and your shoulders to the long edge of your mat, with your right toes facing the back of your mat and your left heel angled to the front of your mat. So kind of turn sideways. You'll turn a little bit more towards your camera. Yep. And we're headed here. So this one, triangle pose. Yeah, hips headed to the left, torso reaching to the right. That's the one. Nice. And we'll hold this for 5 breaths. So as we're holding in our triangle pose, we're trying to roll the ribs, lower right ribs towards left hip. We're trying to create lots of extension across our collarbones. Try to take a moment to take the base of your skull back and then turn your gaze up towards the hand that's in the air, if that feels reasonable. Yes. To come out of the pose, we'll turn our gaze down. You'll bend your right knee. Inhale, come up to standing. Arms will stay extended parallel to the floor. Now turn your feet. So we're now pointing the left toes straight towards the short edge of the mat. We're angling the right heel. We'll send our hips to the right and torso to the left, straight into the pose on the other side. The right arm reaches up. And we'll hold here. It looks beautiful. And check in with your neck. I always find myself kind of jutting my chin forward and then my neck gets tired. So I find it helpful to take the base of my skull back. Maybe tuck chin a little bit, and then turn my head up, and that just gives me a little more length at the back of my neck. Nice. We'll inhale, reach up, come all the way back up to standing. Pivot your feet back to the first side. We'll come into a variation of revolved triangle. So squeeze your inner thighs in, and now we're going to try to square our hips towards the right foot. Probably they won't get all the way there because we've got left heel on the floor. And from here, start to twist to your right, but keep your torso upright. So arms will stay extended. We're turning belly and ribs and chest and shoulders, maybe looking back over the right hand. One more slow, deep Ujjayi breath. You can inhale through center, pivot back around to the left. And now we'll keep our arms extended. Try to square our hips towards the left toes as much as possible. They may not get all the way there, that's okay. But we're working in that direction, kind of scissoring our thighs in, and then we twist left. Turning belly and ribs and chest and shoulders, maybe neck and head. Nice. You can inhale, unwind. Okay, coming back to the right. This time, revolved triangle for real. So we'll try to square our hips again. Reaching out, find the rotation. And now the left hand reaches either for the floor or a block. And it could be the inside of your right foot. It could be the top of your right foot. Or it could be the little toe side of your right foot. You're twisting right. Beautiful. At the end of your next exhalation, turn your gaze down. You can bend your right knee a little bit. We'll inhale up to standing, pivot around to the left. Same pose, left side. So we're scissoring the inner thighs in. Now right hand starts to reach down. Maybe it finds a block, maybe it finds the floor. It could find the floor to the inside of your left foot, the top of your left foot, the outside of your left foot. One more breath here. You can inhale, unwind. As you exhale, release your arms down by your sides and you'll step forward, Samasthiti at the top of your mat. Whew. All right, so settling into this kind of resting pose, this reset pose. We'll take one more breath here. Then you can take your feet to the width of your hips. And we'll bend our knees a little bit. So this next pose is not strictly in the Ashtanga practice, but it's a really good preparation for the next pose that I'd like to do. So we'll take a moment to kind of bend our knees. And you'll shift your weight into your left foot. Pick your right foot up and externally rotate. Cross your ankle over your left knee. So figure 4 stretch, taking your hips back, taking your heart forward. You can keep your knees bent, maybe even reach your fingers for the floor. And we'll hold here for 5 slow breaths. So let's inhale, stand up, and now maybe you can pick up your right leg. Cradle your shin for 5 slow breaths. Nice. If you want, you can even try tucking it into your elbows. I don't know if I can go there today, but you can take your foot to the crease of an elbow. A little deeper rotation. If that's too much, you can just hang on to it. That looks amazing. All right, release your foot down to the mat. We'll do those 2 movements on the other side. Settling in. Find your bent knees, weight shifts into your right foot, left foot lifts, external rotation. We cross, hips back, heart forward, knees bend. You can reach your fingertips and maybe brush them towards the floor. We've got one more Ujjayi breath here. And then you can start to pick it up. You can try cradling your shin, maybe even taking your foot into the crease of one elbow, your knee into the crease of the other. Lovely. You can set your foot back down. Let's come back to Samasthiti, equal standing pose. All right, so this is the posture that is actually in the Ashtanga series. And this is half bound lotus standing forward fold. So this is where you might want your extra reach, the shirt that you chose or the strap that you chose to help extend your reach in this posture. We'll come back to standing on the left foot, pick the right foot up, and see if maybe we can take right foot to the crease of left hip. So we can drop knee down. So this is Ardha Padmasana, half lotus. If this is not reasonable in your knee, you can always take it just to tree pose. So if this feels better, you would go here. If it's reasonable, you would go here. All right, so this is the half lotus part. The bound part is that we take a right arm behind us and try to reach our right toes. And you can see that mine are almost within reach, not quite. If you have a strap, you'll loop it. If you're in tree pose, you can take the strap around your foot and you can find the bind this way. So maybe you're in the tree, strap around your foot, and you could bind here. There it is, nice. All right, so now we have to do the forward fold part. So we're in the half bound lotus. We bend the standing leg knee a little bit. Exhale, you'll hinge around your left hip. We'll see if maybe we can touch left fingertips down towards the floor. Perfectly reasonable to leave your left knee slightly bent here. Nice. We'll take one more breath. To come out of the pose, you'll exhale, bend your standing leg knee a little more to catch your balance. Inhale, stand all the way up. And then release your bind and stand on both feet. Same pose, other side. Weight will shift into your right foot. You'll pick up your left. And maybe you can get the outer edge of your left foot to the crease of your right hip. Maybe that doesn't feel good in your knee or ankle, and so you take the tree pose instead. You could create the bind by looping the strap around your ankle, taking it around behind you, and hanging on. You could create the bind by reaching your left hand behind you, trying to grab your toes. I'm going to go this way since I've got my injured arm. I'm going to hold my left toes with my right hand and hinge forward this way. You can also switch partway through. Let's take one more breath in the half bound lotus standing forward fold. To exit this pose, we exit in 2 stages. Exhale, bend the knee, catch your balance. Inhale, stand all the way up. And release the bind, nice work. All right, so let's come back to the top of our mats if we're not already there. Then we'll inhale, interlace of our feet together. Inhale, Utkatasana. This time hold your chair. 5 breaths in chair. This may be the longest 5 breaths of your day. See if you can stay here. Adjusting your balance. Maybe hips can drop a little each time you exhale. Maybe arms can reach a little each time you inhale. One more breath. Big inhalation. Exhale, hands part, fold forward, Uttanasana, standing forward fold. You'll inhale, lift halfway up, keep your neck nice and long. And then plant your hands, step or float back through your vinyasa, back to chaturanga, upward facing dog. And exhale to downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward between your hands. Left heel pivots to the floor, and we hold warrior 1 now. So Virabhadrasana 1, navel's pulling in, we're anchoring the left heel, and that's like our support as we slide a little deeper into this pose. You can drop the head of your right femur a little bit more. You can lengthen from your low back up through your fingertips a little bit more. We've got 2 slow, steady breaths left. So from here, we'll leave our arms extended. Inhale to extend your right leg straight, and then turn your feet. With your exhalation, you're coming straight into Virabhadrasana with your left foot towards the back of your mat. Straight into the pose on the other side. Nice. One more slow, deep, steady breath. Now we're coming from first warrior to second warrior. I always find I like to move my feet ever so slightly farther apart. So I'm going to inch my left foot a little forward and then open my chest towards the long edge of my mat. Nice. So now as you come into second warrior, when we come from this position of hips working to square to the short edge of the mat, to opening them a little more to the side of the mat, sometimes we end up dragging that front knee width. You may notice that your left medial knee is dropping towards the midline. So if that's happening, activate the outside of your left leg, kind of pulling your knee towards the little toe side of your foot, planting into your left heel. And as you plant into your left heel, maybe you can reach back a little more with your right arm and draw yourself deeper into the second warrior. As you inhale, you'll straighten your left leg, pivot your feet. You'll go straight into warrior 2 with your right toes facing the front of your mat. Nice. So once more, you can check in with the placement of your feet, the angle of your knee. You can notice where your shoulders are in relation to your hips. It's really easy to kind of lean into your right leg on this one. Let's pull with the right thigh and at the same time reach the left hand back. One more breath here. Big inhalation. Your exhalation takes you through vinyasa. So you'll reach your hands down to the mat and step back to plank pose and chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Oh, catch your breath. So we're finished with our subset of the standing series. Moving to the primary series now, which is mostly seated poses. So you're going to come through to a comfortable seat, and that might mean just sitting down. That might mean if you have a jump through, doing a jump through. It might mean hopping, placing your weight in your hands, crossing your ankles just behind your wrists, and just sitting down. I'm just going to meet you in Dandasana because down dog is out of my repertoire at the moment. We'll keep our legs extended out in front here. Big toes touching. And your hands will press into the floor or whatever you happen to be sitting on. I'll turn this way so you can see my functional hand. Look up my legs out straight, bases of big toes touching, pulling the little toes back. It's easy to kind of arc your little toes forward. So we'll activate the outer edge of the foot to outer knee to outer hip. And then press your hands down into whatever it is you're sitting on. Shoulders draw back, base of skull draws back, chin slightly lowers. So this is Dandasana, staff pose. It's basically the equivalent of Samasthiti, but for the seated postures. All right, moving from here to Janu Shirshasana. So I'm going to bend my left knee, sole of left foot to right upper inner thigh, and then rock forward and turn towards your right leg, forward fold. You could reach your hands towards this foot. If it's slightly out of reach, this is a good opportunity to grab your strap. You could also just take your hands to the back of your knee, or just walk your hands down along the sides of your leg, down your mat. So think about keeping neck long. And the name of this pose of Janu Shirshasana, Janu is knee, Shirsha is head. So we kind of think of it as head to knee pose, but eventually it's really more like chin to shin pose. So think about, if you can, going past your knee. lengthening. Keep reaching. And maybe your gaze can lift towards your foot. We'll inhale, sit this back up, and change legs. Bend the leg that was bent, bend the leg that was extended. Once more, square towards the straight leg, and hinge forward. And maybe you loop your strap, maybe you hang onto your knee, maybe you walk your hands down your mat, maybe you can reach the foot. And again, even though it's called head to knee pose, if I were to go head to knee, I'm actually shortening the stance in this pose. So I want to think about lengthening beyond that. Hinging at my hip, maybe going chin to shin. One more breath, Janu Shirshasana. You'll inhale, lift yourself up. So here, if we were doing the primary series, we would insert a vinyasa. You're welcome to do so if you wish. You can just rock up, cross your ankles, rock forward, place your hands, and hop back through chaturanga, up dog, down dog, and then hop back forward. If that doesn't sound fun, you can simply sit. That looks amazing. Nice work. All right, so then once more, hopping forward to sitting. Yeah. All right, so this time, headed back to our half lotus. So I'll take right leg out straight. This time I'm going to place my left foot in the crease of my right hip. So I'm trying to come back to that half lotus shape. And I can bind here. Internal rotation, reach around, find my foot. If that's out of reach, you can always loop the strap. If this half lotus position is not available, you return to Janu Shirshasana, but loop the strap just like we did in our standing version of this posture. So maybe coming into the seated bound half lotus forward fold. Hinging forward and reaching for your right foot. We can inhale, lift up and out of the pose on this side. Unbind, unwind, extend both legs. And then we take the other leg to half lotus. Tucking your foot to the crease of your hip. Shifting forward, maybe binding. I might be able to do it on this side if I use my strap. Getting the bind. And hinging forward. And at the end of your next inhalation, you're going to rise up to sitting. If you've got the bind, release it. Unfold your legs. And you could just hold Dandasana if you like. You could do a little core work, crossing your ankles, balancing. You could rock forward and take it back through vinyasa if you wish. Perfect. All right, once more, come back to sitting. We'll do a little bit of core work. Navasana, boat pose. So we'll start here. You can take your feet to the floor, hinged at your hips, maybe on your sitting bones. So not rock back onto your tail or your sacrum, but allowing your pelvis to kind of tip forward, allowing your heart to lift, your head to draw back. So we're as close to neutral spine as we can be. And you lean back until your feet float off the floor. And you could be here, just floating your shins parallel to the mat. If you want a little more, you straighten your legs. If you want a little less, you hook your fingers behind your knees. Let's try one more breath in Shavasana. And then bend your knees without touching your feet down. Cross your ankles. Grab your ankles. Hug in and balance. Nice. And straight back to your boat. All right, cross your ankles, other foot on top this time. Hug your knees in, find your balance. You're gonna hang onto your feet, sit as tall as you can, and stay here. Last round of Navasana, one more time into your boat. Nice, cross your ankles. You can rock forward this time. Hands find the floor, step or hop back, chaturanga, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. And then bend your knees, hop forward to sit behind your wrists. All right, coming down onto our backs now. Settubandhasana, bridge pose. So we'll roll down onto our backs. You want your feet just about close enough that you could touch your heels with your middle fingers. Just take a moment to press the back of your head into the mat, kind of nestle your shoulder blades a little closer together towards each other. And then take a moment to notice what's going on in your neck and shoulders. Sometimes when we walk our shoulders in this pose, we also excessively reach our hands towards our feet, and we excessively slope our shoulders down away from our ears. So I want you to counter that. Walk your shoulders up towards your ears just a fraction so that you have a nice relaxed neck and the muscles at the top of your shoulders are relatively neutral. So from here, we'll hug inner thighs in, make sure knees and hips and feet are all the same distance apart. You can press into your feet, lift your hips, and come up into your bridge. So maybe you're working like me with the backs of your hands on the floor, pressing down. Maybe you'd like to rock from shoulder to shoulder. Lift yourself up a little higher, get your arms closer together. Maybe you'd like to reach under and interlace your fingers behind your back. Press the little finger side of your wrist into the floor. We'll stay here for 3 more breaths. And hug your inner thighs in and think about lifting your hip points any little bit higher as you press down into your feet and drop your thigh bones relative to your hip points. And as we settle into our long, slow, deep breath, maybe you can get some length and some breath in your breastbone. One more breath here, Settubandhasana. You can exhale, lower your hips. Hug your knees in and rock and roll a few times. Back towards your shoulders, forward towards your hips. Eventually we'll rock all the way up to sitting. Back to Dandasana. And then hinge forward, Paschimottanasana. So seated forward fold. We'll hinge at your hips, reach forward. Hands can be behind you, giving you a little bit of a boost into this posture. Your hands can walk forward. Maybe you can even grab your feet as we bow forward over our legs. The name of this pose, Paschimottanasana, literally means stretching the west, because traditionally you would face east to practice this yoga practice. And so when you forward fold, you're stretching the western side of your body. Nice. One more exhalation in Paschimottanasana. You can inhale, help yourself upright. Maybe just sit here in Dandasana, maybe cross your ankles, balance on your sit bones. If you've got one more vinyasa in you and you want to do it, you can place your feet, rock forward, hop your feet back to chaturanga, and then upward dog, and then downward dog. We'll meet seated and move to Konasana, bound angle pose. The soles of your feet together, knees out to the side. I kind of like to place my hands behind me for this one, lift my seat, press forward, tip my sitting bones back, just to get myself situated. And then I press my heels in towards each other. Now you can check in with your knees. Some people's hips really like this pose. I happen to have a fair bit of external rotation, so I don't do too badly here. But some people's hips don't like to externally rotate. And you may find yourself here and kind of rocking back like this. It may feel awkward. So if this is your experience in Baddha Konasana, lift your hips up onto something. You could use a block, you could use a folded blanket. I've got my block right here. So you would just elevate your hips slightly higher than your ankles. Oh, and it just makes so much more space and ease in your hips. So pressing our heels towards each other from here, we can start to forward fold. You might want to cup your hands around your feet. If that's not helpful, you can put your hands behind you and press fingers into the floor. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll inhale, lift yourself back upright, and move into your favorite comfortable cross-legged seat. So that could be staying in Baddha Konasana. It could be Sukhasana, just crossing your ankles. If you are comfortable in lotus or half lotus, go to lotus or half lotus. Taking one foot into the crease of your hip, sliding the other foot in on top. So find your comfortable seat. Then we'll take the backs of our hands to our knees. Tips of finger and index finger and thumb touch. The other three fingers extend. And we take a moment to take shoulders back, take roof of mouth back, slightly lower chin. And we'll take 5 slow, deep breaths here. As we come to the end of the active part of our practice, slow your breath any little bit more, as much as you can, in fact. Longest, slowest, deepest, most mindful breaths of your entire practice. Finally, you can release the mudra in your hands. You can release the cross of your legs. Release the control of your breath. And lay down on your back for your Shavasana. Get as comfortable as you can. Arrange yourself in the best way, the way that feels most nourishing to you. And then take a moment to engage every muscle in your body. Tighten, 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 tighten. And then exhale, let it all go. And allow yourself to completely surrender to the support of the earth here. Final posture in our practice. Allowing you to integrate everything that we've done throughout our practice. Little by little, your body releases to the floor. Any last little bits of tension melt away. As you relinquish the control of your breath, you can receive. Receiving the inhalation as it arrives. Feeling the breath turn, receiving the release of the exhalation as the breath departs. And you may find that as you continue to rest and let go and relax more deeply, that natural pauses develop in your breath. You can savor those pauses. There's no need to rush. Now gently, with your attention still on your breath, begin to invite your breath deeper. You're disturbing your relaxation as little as possible. Just encouraging a more complete inhalation, emptying more fully with the exhalation. And with the deepening of your breath, eventually comes a desire to move your body. So when you feel that desire to move, you can honor it. Starting to wiggle your fingers and toes, starting to move your hands and feet. Eventually, your whole body comes back to life. You can bring life and movement back into your arms and your legs and your spine and your head and your neck. And eventually, those movements will carry you all the way over to one side. You can pause on your side for a breath or two. And then finally, use the strength of your arms and help yourself up. Come up to a comfortable seat. And once more, you can rest just for a breath or two with thumb and index finger touching. Backs of your hands will rest against your knees. A slight lowering of your chin as you lift your soft palate. You can take this opportunity to notice how your body and breath and mind feel now. Maybe you can recall how you felt at the beginning of the practice. You might notice some shifts. Welcome whatever's here. And then finally, we'll take our hands out to the side, palms up, and float arms up overhead on an inhalation. You can bring your palms together and draw them down the midline of your body to your heart on your exhalation. Anjali Mudra, chin lowers just a little bit. And we'll close with the sound of Om. You are welcome to join me if you wish. You are welcome to sit and listen if that feels better to you. If you'd like to join, let's inhale and begin. And thank you so much for sharing your practice this evening. Have a marvelous rest of your day. Namaste. Well done.